Mal, let's head on over to the hotline. And we will bring in, most notably, the leader of Jorts Nation. That's actually like the most important things he brings to the table. The second thing is something that I don't necessarily like about him, and it's the fact that he's living in the 210 and he's a Mavs fan. So that part is a downgrade there. But we'll bring in a sports writer for the San Antonio Express News, one of our favorite members of the football media mafia, Mr. David Hinojosa. Jorts, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? And actually, I'm wearing my Mavs hoodie today. It's a little cool.
Let's go.
Gosh.
I love
hope
that.
you get just the worst mean looks in San Antonio because the best team in the world is right down the road from you, it pains me. But anyway, before I start making this about the Spurs, George, give us we like to give people an opportunity to tell us a little bit about themselves. I know that you've been all over the place, but give us a little bit of an elevator pitch as to how you ended up back in the 210.
Well, let's see. I'm from Edinburgh, so I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. So I graduated there a long time ago. I graduated from Edinburgh High School when Edinburgh was a one high school town, to kind of give you some perspective. Wow. And actually, where Robert Vela is physically located, that's the old Edinburgh High School, and that's where I went to school. So the actual where Edinburgh High School is located right now, I never went to school there, so it's kind of interesting. And actually, I covered Robert Vela when he was the coach over at Hinojosa and at Edinburgh High School. And just one other Robert Vela note from my standpoint. When I was at Edinburgh Junior High in 8th grade, he was one of the coaches there, and he was my health teacher. So
that is too cool.
So from Edinburgh, I went to University of Texas for a couple of years. I ended up graduating from Texas Pan American. I started out stringing games at the Edinburgh Daily Review in 1992, I think it was. That's when Edinburgh North started varsity football, and they needed someone extra to cover games, and that's where I started. From there, I went to the McAllen Monitor in 93, and then in 2000, I went to the Dallas Morning News. I worked there for 8 years, and then the newspaper bubble burst.
Right.
I got laid off. I was unemployed for about 9 months. Ended up going back to McAllen at the Monitor where I started. I worked there for 4 years. I went to grad school. I got a master's degree at Texas Pan American. And then how I ended up in San Antonio was just kind of out of the blue, kind of like I don't know. It's just one of those things that I never expected it. It was a job that wasn't posted. I got an email from Lauren Chan, who at the time was the lead high school writer and kind of the de facto high school editor. Mm-hmm. And I was familiar with Lauren from just covering stuff, state stuff. I didn't know him that well, but I used to post all my stories on Facebook, and we're Facebook friends. and he emailed me and asked me if I was interested. They were going to have a job there. He asked me if I was interested in it. He thought I would be good for it. And just long story short, I about a month and a half later, I'm loading up a U-Haul and I'm heading to San Antonio. I didn't apply for it. I mean, the job wasn't posted. It was kind of a low key deal. And at that time before it happened, I was thinking about just getting out of the business. I just, when you go from Dallas back to where you started, you kind of question whether or not this is something you should be doing. Mm-hmm. And I guess, not to get too corny or sappy here, but I think Garth Brooks has that unanswered prayer song, and it's kind of like I needed to go back home to kind of get some perspective, and then just to be back up here was amazing. It's amazing, and I'm just loving it here in San Antonio. I've been here. This will be my 10th year. I'm in my 10th year covering sports here in San Antonio. It's the longest I've ever been in one spot, and I'm just really lucky and I'm happy here. So, and it's really helped me from a lot from my mental standpoint, and just obviously just getting to cover all sorts of sports here in this great city is amazing.
Man, thank God for Facebook. That is too cool. We are glad that ended up working out the way that it did, because we love reading your stuff down there. Now, like you said, you've been down there for 10 years. There's a lot of really good football in the 210 area. To start off big here, big picture, when people around the state of Texas hear San Antonio, what should be the big storyline that kind of comes to their mind heading into the back half of the season?
Well, I think when people ask me that, or I think that the way that I like to approach that is I like to talk about the teams that are really standing out, and the two that are head and shoulders above everyone
Hmm.
is Steele and Brennan. They are by far the best teams we have down here. And I'll get into this in a little bit here, but they might fall victim as to where they end up in the bracket because I think they might both go Division One. I know Brennan's going to go Division One for sure,
Hmm.
and then Steele, there's a little bit of a mess there in 27 6A, and I can get into that here in a little bit. But you have Westlake and Lake Travis, and I think they're locked into Division One, and they're in Region Four, so
Hmm.
that's going to be tough. But they are the best teams in San Antonio. Brennan made it to the state quarterfinals last year. They lost to Westlake in that game, but they got everybody back. They have a kind of a senior loaded team. They're 6-1. They lost to Steele in the season opener by 1 point. Steele won that game like in the last seconds. But Ashton DeBow is a quarterback. He was our offensive player of the year last year. He's having another great season. He's passed for almost 2,000 yards. He has 21 touchdowns, doing a great job. And they got a great receiving core with Aaron Carter, Aaron DeBow, who's Ashton's twin, and then Armando Acevedo, who's a high jumper, and he's a guy that can really kind of high point the ball. He's very athletic. Um, so that offense is moving. They're scoring a ton of points. They kind of had a bit of and they are by far the best team in 29 6A, although Warren kind of gave them a little bit of a game. They beat Warren 33 to 30. Warren scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, so they kind of had to hold them off there. It got a little dicey there. But Brennan's is dominating that district, and they should, and they're with the schedule they have remaining, they should close it out. And on the defensive side, they have a guy by the name of Tyler Turner. He's committed to Oregon. He's kind of a hybrid guy. He plays linebacker, defensive back. He's good in run support. He can do pass coverage, and he's a returner. So he's just a great all-around athlete. So they're a senior team. I think if they can put it all together, maybe who knows what they can do. But they have the experience, and Tyler's a 4-year starter. Ashton's been on varsity for 4 years, so I mean, these guys have played a lot of varsity games. Steele is kind of on the opposite end. They're 7-0, but a lot of their big offensive guys are sophomores. Their quarterback Chad Warner is really, man, that guy is man. You wouldn't. I mean, if you just looked at him, just the way that not only the way he plays, but the way he plays with a lot of poise under pressure. He's really come up in some big situations. He passed to. When they beat Steele in the season opener, he passed to Royal Capel, another senior, with 18 seconds left. That kind of lifted him to the victory there, which it was an amazing play. And I think Ashley, you may have been there for that. So
Yeah.
saying that. So that was, and then those two guys are sophomores, and they have another sophomore, Jalen Cooper. He's doing well, and they have a couple of other senior receivers, Joe Pettis and Ed Marion Coteras. The one thing about them, that receiving core, they're so good at stretching the field. That's allowed a guy like Jaden Bailey at running back, a senior. He has over 1,000 yards and 19 touchdowns. They are really able to stretch the field for him, and Jaden's such a good inside runner. And when you kind of can get those linebackers to float out a little bit, he doesn't need a whole lot to get going. So that Steele's really got it working really well there. I think they're set up for a couple of years. And I think if they can somehow, and it's, there's a lot to be said, there's a lot to be determined here, but if they can somehow sneak into that Division II bracket, I don't really know what needs to happen. I think they can make a really significant run.
And David, you just mentioned pretty much our next question, which teams do you think are going to make a deep run in the playoffs? Now let's switch to the other side. Which teams do you think that might not currently be ranked in the state rankings could surprise people come playoff time?
Well, one team that I like, but one team I think is getting overlooked, and I think they should be in your top 10. It's Smithson Valley in 5A Division One.
Uh-huh.
Smithson Valley is they're one of the teams. They got aligned from 6A to 5A, and they're just they have one. They're 6-1. They have one loss to Killeen Harker Heights, which I think is 6-1 right now. But they are just dominating their district. They are in district. They're in Region 3. Let's leave it that way. But they're dominating their district. They have 2 shutouts, and they've only allowed 16 points in 4 games. They shut out New Braunfels Canyon to begin district play. New Braunfels Canyon can score points, and they shut them down. They have a great linebacker by the name of Gavin Woods. He's a very aggressive player. They like to blitz him, and he just doesn't miss a whole lot of tackles. He's on it all the time. And they also have an offensive lineman by the name of Colton Tomlinson. He goes about 6'8", 325, and he's about 1,000,000% committed to Texas A&M. I see him on Twitter trying to get people to go with the Aggies.
Mm-hmm.
trying to persuade them. But they're really good, and the only thing is they are in Region 3. And College Station is in that region, and that also goes through the Houston schools. So I don't know, but Smithson Valley, most of those guys on that team are battle tested because they were in 27-6A with Judson, with Steele. They have faced the best teams and the best players from San Antonio. So I don't think so there's no intimidation there if they do make a deep run. I think they can. They're one of those teams that I think can really sneak in there and do a good job. And then I think Alamo Heights is. I don't know if you guys have Alamo Heights ranked, but they're a team. They're 6-1 now. I'm going to be very careful with them because they lost to Seguin to open the season, but they didn't have all their players with them, if you know what I mean. So, but they are a very good team. We had them as our preseason number 1. They lost to Liberty Hill in the regional final last year, and I kind of think they're going to meet again in the playoffs. And I think the winner of that game, whenever they do eventually meet, will probably end up winning the region. And then, of course, you have good old Poth in 3A Division 2. They have a 1-point loss to Shiner. They're kind of one of those teams that just has a great regular season, and they're always good to go about 3-4 rounds, and we'll see if they can make a breakthrough this year.
Now, you've already mentioned a couple of names that we should keep an eye on, especially San Antonio Brennan's safety, Tyler Turner, probably one of the best safeties in the state. Are there any other players that you think that we should keep our eyes on, or you think are going to make some noise come playoff time?
Well, I don't know about come playoff time, but come college time.
Right.
There's a guy by the name of the running back by the name of James Peoples from San Antonio Veterans Memorial. He is kind of come out of nowhere, I guess. He has 98 rushes for 1,148 yards. That's about almost a 12-yard average. He has 18 touchdowns. Last week he rushed 13 times for 274 yards, 4 TDs. He rushed for 216 yards in a loss at Liberty Hill, and he opened up the season 2 weeks ago. He rushed for 378 yards, 5 touchdowns against Lockhart, and he opened up the season against Harlandale. He rushed 9 times for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's a guy that has, when I say come out of nowhere, he is a year ago. I did a feature on him about a month ago, and I asked him about, were you even thinking any of this could happen a year ago? Because he was splitting time with another running back, and he said, absolutely not. But, the other running back got hurt. He got his chance, and then he really shined in some camps, and he's got about between 12 to 15 offers right now, and he just got an offer from Ohio State. Texas has offered him. Miami has offered him. He's going big time right now. He's only a junior, and he doesn't touch the ball a lot, but when he does, he makes stuff happen. Whether that's enough to carry Veterans Memorial to a long playoff run, I don't know, but he's definitely, if he's not the most exciting offensive player to watch, he's one of them. And the fact that he's going to be back next year, I think, just bodes well for all the San Antonio football fans.
Absolutely. And finally, we've got to ask you, if I know that the 210 is just chock full of great places to eat, but if you had to pick one, and you're allowed to pick whatever place that you get your Cowboys Good Luck breakfast from. I don't care. Where is the place that we need to go in the 210? We might just join you one day for the Cowboys breakfast thing because we need all the luck we can get.
Well, we really do. I probably needed 2 bowls. Well, okay. So whenever someone asks me that, as you know, I'm from the Valley, so I always say, get in the car and drive south for 3.5 hours. But if you can't do that, my favorite place to go, and again, it's not the best. I don't know if it's the best one, but it's my favorite one. It's a place called Oblate Cafe. It's just north of downtown. It's over by Lee, Edison area. It's got to me, it's got the best food. It's the best Mexican food that I've tasted here in San Antonio. And Tom Orsborn, who covers Spurs for us, he used to live in that neighborhood. He's the one who suggested it to me. And I used to live closer to there. I'd go there more. I don't go there as often anymore, but it's a great place, and that's the one I always recommend. There's also a couple of other places that are not Mexican food, but they're in the downtown area. There's a place called Guillermo's, which is kind of an Italian restaurant, but it's also got great burgers. And there's
Nice.
also one called Good Time Charlie's, which has kind of got a variety of food, and it's really good. It's on Broadway. It's north of downtown. So those are the ones that I recommend. So,
Well,
and every time that I have recommended and people have gone, they've told me, yeah, good call on that. So,
Look at that. Spurs fans making good recommendations. You love to see it. He's David Hinojosa, sports writer for the San Antonio Express News and our real good pal here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. But, David, we really appreciate you hopping on, and best of luck. We'll hopefully be seeing you around come playoff time.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.